2010. Former U.S. Attorney Booth Goodwin is now running for governor of West Virginia. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Great to be here.
All right, so if you're running for a public office, especially the governor of a state, you've got to have a list, right?
Sure.
So what's at the top of your list? If you're elected governor, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, you know, it's somewhat like I saw when I was the U.S. Attorney. I mean, one of our biggest crises is the prescription drug problem and now the heroin problem that we see not only here in the southern part of the state, but up north as well. So we've got to tackle that. We have to have our people sober before we can move forward as a state. We also got to attack our infrastructure issues. You know, people don't want to come here and send their kids to school in crumbling schools. We also need to tackle our education system. You know, we have good education system, but we need to get even better. And the PEIA crisis isn't helping that at all.
Well, getting to that, what did you think of the last legislative session? We're dealing with a budget right now that is in a stalemate.
Right.
What would you do different?
Well, you know, we have some very big issues confronting us right now, and all they wanted to talk about were periphery issues. I mean, things like raw milk, and for goodness sakes, I mean, whatever you think about it, it's not a pressing issue. I mean, we need to be talking about our budget crisis. We need to be talking about our PEIA crisis, because you know those are the things that even make us competitive, especially out in the Eastern Panhandle or Northern Panhandle, when we're trying to keep our teachers in our schools there. You
mentioned drugs before. It's obviously a big issue here in West Virginia. You have years of experience as a prosecutor. How are you going to apply those skills to help defeat the drug epidemic here in West Virginia?
Well, you know, when I was a U.S. Attorney, and we just saw my counterpart up north, Bill Ehlenfeld, we could attack the supply side pretty well. And I think we did a very good job at that and continue to do a good job at that. We've got to attack the demand side just as well. I mean, unless we get people well, you know, unless we get them sober, unless we get them some help that they need, then you know we're going to continue to be fighting this problem. It's just basic economics.
Another big problem here in West Virginia, you have families that are struggling. They're frustrated right now, and they're leaving the state. Our population is going down every time we have to end up reporting it. What are you going to do to get people, first of all, to stop the trend of people leaving the state, and then turn it around? What specifically, what are you going to do?
Well, if there is any problem that we face that is above all others, is that we have this exodus of our people. You know, we're losing people to out of state, we're losing people to drugs. We have got to reverse that trend. And I think the way we do so is to make our communities inviting to people. For years and years we've been trying to do what we think will attract businesses here without realizing it's not businesses that decide where to locate, it's people who decide where to locate. So we got to get our infrastructure right, we've got to work on our education system, we've got to address our budget crisis, and we've got to diversify our economy to move forward as a state.
All right, we're going to have to stop you there. Where can we find out more information?
BoothGoodwin.com, and on Facebook, on Twitter. We're on all the social media sites, and you know, please reach out to us.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
tonight.
very much, Dan.
All right. Well, we're going to continue to tackle the topics that matter most to you tomorrow, right here on Tonight Live. Another candidate, Senate Minority Leader Jeff Kessler, will sit down to discuss